Are you Real ID compliant? Beginning May 7th, 2025, there are changes to the types of identification that are acceptable for travel within the United States. Prior to that date, you could get on any domestic air flight on a commercial airline just using your state-issued driver's license. Now, driver's license is still an acceptable form, but now it must be Real ID compliant. So what does that mean? That means that there was a legislation passed in 2005 that indicated that now driver's license must have a Real ID compliant star in the upper corner that indicates that you have in person come to the registrar, DMV, whatever they call it in your area, and you have proven certain identification requirements. So let's take a look at what those requirements are. Generally, in order to be issued a government Real ID driver's license or identification card, you must go in person and you must submit proof of your legal name, your date of birth, your residency status, and you must also have 2 forms that show your current address, so utility bills, mortgage statements, things of that manner. Once you have done that, then they will issue a government ID, driver's license, identification card, that will have a star in the upper right-hand corner. Now, those look different depending on what state you're in. In my home state of Georgia, it's literally just a star, but in other states, it's a star with a bear or a owl or a shape of your state. But it must have that star to indicate that you have gone and given all of that identification and you have been approved for a Real ID. If you do not have either a government-issued passport or a Real ID, then you will not be able to get through the TSA check at an airport. That means that you can no longer board a commercially available flight. Now, that doesn't count for buses or obviously private transportation, but if you are traveling anywhere and you need to get on a plane within the United States, you need to have that ID. Now, if you're traveling internationally, this does not take place of your passport. You will still need to get a passport for international travel. Now, also don't forget that if you are traveling international with that passport, your passport cannot expire within 6 months of your arrival in any foreign country. They will deny you access into their country. And many times, even getting on a flight from the United States, they will check that passport. And if it's not good for 6 months, you will be denied boarding onto that flight. Trust me, it happens. I know somebody that did that, and they had to cancel their entire trip. Here in my home state of Georgia, we have been compliant with Real ID for many years, but it's still a good idea for you to check for that star in the upper right-hand corner. If for some reason you have fallen through the cracks, you don't want to find out when you get to the airport and cannot board your flight. Now, in other states, they have just started to implement this, even though this went into effect phased in 2005. So this might be a rush for you to have to go and collect all that documentation and go in person to get that compliant Real ID. So the moral of the story is really just to be prepared. Always make sure before you travel, even if it's not a big trip, if you're just going across the country to visit relatives, you now need to make sure that you have that Real ID compliant identification. So check what you have, and if you do not have that star in your upper right-hand corner, you can still travel with your passport if you have one. Otherwise, check what identification you need to bring into your local governmental agency to get Real ID compliant. Please make sure you always are getting the right travel information. I strive to make sure to give you timely information in this way. If you want to be on my email list, you'd get this information first, but always follow me on social media for the best travel tips, and I would love to help you book your travel. So give me a call, send me a DM, send me a text, send me an email at brenda@adventurewaytravels.com, and let's talk about what you need to be traveling.